Nation. The hobby is the people. Weekly news and interviews. It's your number one source. Sports Card Nation. The hobby is the people. Sports Card Nation.
What is up, everybody? Episode 250. And man, when I think about that 250 number, doesn't seem real. It doesn't seem possible. And I know there are other hobby podcasts that are over 250 that are newer, maybe do 2, 3, 4 episodes a week. But for this show, Sports Card Nation, that 250 is one show a week. Unless I'm mistaken, I've never done 2 Sports Card Nations in a week. It's always been one at the most. We've missed about 4 weeks in 5 years, maybe 5 weeks in 5 years, and that in itself is head scratching to me. So when I think about that 250 number, and once a week, you just realize how long the show's been going. And when I realize how long this show's been going, I don't think of so much me, but I think of all the people that make it possible. It starts with you out there, right? If no one listens to the show, I'm not going to do the show, most likely. And it's you that have made this show from, a little show that was getting 50 to 100 downloads in the initial stages 5 years ago to the 4-figure download show each week it's become. And again, thanks to you out there, every single one of you. You could be doing other things. You could be listening to other shows or not listening to the show at all. And I'm sure you do listen. I encourage you to listen to multiple things. But the fact that you give me some time each week is not lost on me, not one bit. And so thank you for that. Thank you to the guests who make this show, really, who drive the show, right? More of them and less of me is the desired effect. And obviously sponsors who allow me to, put the show on, give things away, buy needed upgrades and equipment and that sort of thing. And I like them and use them. So we don't shill here at all. And to the point we've said no to certain sponsors because I don't endorse that. So with that being said, again, a hearty thank you as we approach 300. This is number 250. A little bit longer intro here because I want to tackle something else. For those that may have seen it on social media and it blew up, it was crazy. And, Jefferson Burdick, the father of card collector, as he's often referred by, grave is 14 miles north of where I am. And this past weekend, I went up there to see the grave and pay my respects for the first time. And I was a little bit surprised at what I saw. The grave had lots of moss and lichen growth, kind of a form of algae, where you could almost not read it, quite frankly. Other than knowing it was his grave, it was very hard to read. And I kind of paid my respects and give you full transparency. I'm a grave talker, and here's what I mean by that. Whenever I visit, whether it be a passed away family member's grave, a friend's grave, and in this case Jefferson Burdick's, not out loud, but in my head, I say what I would want to say to him, assuming if they could hear me. And so I said some stuff that if, he was able to hear me, he would hear, paid my respects, and I went home, and this was a Saturday, and, it really bothered me, knowing this man's contributions to the hobby and seeing the headstone in that condition. I couldn't let it be. And it weighed on my mind at different points throughout the day. And, I told my wife, just so you know, in the morning, I'm going to head back up there and I got to do this justice. And she said, hey, that is a great thing. And, that not that I needed a final push, but hearing that just made my decision, cemented it. So I did research what I can use that I had already here. And I had a lot of things, a soft bristle brush, a pump sprayer to fill with water, and solution of cleaning vinegar and Dawn that you mix together. And yes, I know D2 is the preferred choice. I don't have that at the moment. It'll probably be something I add to do further cleanings in the future. And so Sunday morning, I woke up, took a shower, got dressed, and headed 14 miles back up to Hillside Memorial Cemetery in Central Square, New York. And if anyone ever needs info to find his burial site, I'd be more happy to share that information so you too can pay your respects as well. So I drove up the 14 miles, takes about 20-25 minutes, not too bad. Went back to the gravesite with my supplies in kind of a little bucket, and I did the honor of cleaning his headstone, and a little bit more work than I anticipated. Not complaining, no pity parties here. And he's buried between his parents to the left and right, his father to the left, his mom to the right. And I said, man, I cleaned his headstone. I should, do the honors to clean his parents. It just didn't look right. His is done, and theirs wouldn't be. So I did all three. Took about 70 minutes in total. Wasn't watching the clock per se. I had nothing pressing to do. Let my wife know I'd be home when I'm done, however long that might be. And, did it. And then I posted it. And again, I apologize for this long intro, but I really want to talk about this. And I'll try to wrap it up here. And I posted it, before and after photos. And someone will say, well, what was the point of, posting it? Are you patting yourself on the back? 0% of that. There was two kind of things going through my mind. Number one, I always talk about being an advocate, an ambassador, a steward of the hobby, right? And this was, to me being a steward of the hobby, sort of honoring the past, respecting the past. This gentleman made major contributions to the hobby I love and I hope you love, and I wanted to do right but in his final resting place. It didn't take, we're talking about 60 minutes, 70 minutes of work, not a big deal, and I wanted to do it. I wanted to be a good steward, and I wanted to be an example for others to do the same, and not just in the hobby, but just in life and in general. And the other thing I wanted to do, but go with the post and putting some light on it, and him was exactly that, put some light on him. A lot of people in the hobby, new and old both, probably don't know who Jefferson Burdick is. It doesn't make you a bad hobbyist. You just may not know. You just, may not have learned about him. And so I wanted people to know about him. And and I know that happened because at the time of this recording, I've received 7 to 10 different messages from different people. A good percentage of them saying, hey, John, I didn't know about this gentleman. Your post made me research him. Thank you. I learned something today. Thank you for doing what you did. The gravestone and shining light on Mr. Burdick. And a few others were people who knew the history of Jefferson Burdick and said, thank you for doing that. And thank you. It made me kind of go look back again and revisit some of his story. And that was really the purpose of that post. And that warms my heart. I'm not going to lie. I get a little choked up maybe when I think about that, but that was, I think in anything I've done, I've always tried to respect the past. How did we get here? It's 2023. A meteor didn't just crash and the hobby just showed up. All right. We it's been around over 100 years, obviously. And how did we get there? And everything that's happened before 2023 is in some way responsible for where we are today. And I like to honor that and respect that. And this was one of those cases. So that's where it was coming from. And we're going to do a Legends of the Hobby on Hobby Quick Hits of Mr. Burdick, probably in 3-4 weeks, if, maybe not sooner, but look for it around then. And that was in the plan even before what I did this past weekend. So Enough about that. We got a great guest. The hobby is, it's called Sports Card Nation. It's worldwide. And the gentleman on today's show, Torsten Bauer, is from Germany. And so he's a Shaq collector. And we're going to learn about what's the hobby like in Germany. It's not like we have it here in the States. How is it different? How has he adapted? Why is Shaq? And he's a great guy. And speaking of great ambassadors of the hobby, Torsten wears that crown in Germany. So glad to get him on the show and talk about that. He's been on Dr. Jim's Sports Card Insights in a few episodes. Check those out as well. Very informative, and I tried to do the interview maybe in a little bit of a different fashion as well. So with that being said, the intro, I apologize for the long intro. The interview is a little shorter. So forgive me for the long intro, but had to say some things. So thank you. But let's get this show going.
Time for our Hobby is the People Announcer of the Week.
This is Ray from Philly, and remember, the hobby is the people.
If you'd like to be the Hobby is the People Announcer of the Week, do a WAV or MP3 file and send it to sportscardnationpc@gmail.com.
Iron Sports Cards is your #1 source for all your PSA and other grading submissions. Their elite status improves turnaround times. Heck, they even provide the card savers. Their chat rooms provide updates on all your submissions. They also offer wax options and single cards to cover all the bases. Check them out on Facebook at Iron Sports Cards Group or on the web at ironsportscards.com, or even give them a call at 1-877-IRON-PSA. Rob's got you covered.
Are you a new sports cards collector or someone returning to the hobby? Maybe you're just looking for a friendly, trustworthy hobby community to hang out with and enjoy collecting. Midwest Box Breaks has been bringing collectors together for many years with affordable breaks, helpful threads, and a Discord group packed with generous people who genuinely care about the hobby and other collectors. Check out the breaks at MidwestBoxBreaks.com. Our goal is to bring you as much value as possible. Also, find us on Twitter at Midwest Box Break.
Also, remember to check out Midwest Box Breaks Marketplace for breaks, packs, and single cards from over 300 trusted sellers. Apply to sell today at iso.gg/Midwest Box Breaks. I'm really interested to talk to my next guest. He's all the way in Germany. He's been on Dr. Beckett's podcast, and happy to have him here now on Sports Card Nation. Mr. Torsten Bauer, how are you?
I'm fine. Thanks for having me. It's a big pleasure and a big honor for me.
Well, I appreciate you making some time, and when you're dealing with different time zones, it's sometimes tricky to coordinate, but we did it. Here we are. You're those that heard you on Dr. Jim's show will know that you're a Shaq collector. Like I said, in Germany. I guess my first question, Torsten, why Shaq? Other than the obvious reasons of being a great player, but what was it that drew you to Shaquille O'Neal?
Yeah, that's first off. I mean, I started collecting and being a Shaq fan in 1995. So back then, I was not so much into basketball. Basketball was not as popular as it is today in Germany. And Shaq was, back then, he was one of the most popular players. And he was one of the few I already knew. And on the other hand, I was a big pro wrestling fan. So I liked the big and strong guys, and Shaggy was the biggest and strongest, right? So that's the reason I developed to become a big Shaq fan. And also, we had relatives in near Orlando, Florida. So I wanted to collect Orlando Magic cards, and so Shaq was an obvious choice for me.
Well, not a bad choice. I still feel like even today, even though he's been retired a while now, he's obviously an NBA analyst and commentator. I still feel like he's a little bit underrated. People don't realize. I think those of us that watched him during his playing days realize how dominating he was, but I think maybe younger folks that didn't see him during his actual, when he was playing, don't realize what a force and how dominating he was. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, that's probably true. But also during his time when he played, I know that some of my friends who were basketball fans as well, they didn't really appreciate his playing style because he was not a finesse player. He was a power player, but still he was very agile for his size, and that's something. As a kid, maybe when you're not very experienced in sports and everything, you don't really realize that. But I agree with you that he might be underrated, but I think he's coming along. So when I was collecting his cards, for example, they were not as much worth as the Penny and the Grant Hill. Those were the big stars, and then Jordan returned, of course. Then he was number one again. But I think currently also Dennis Rodman, he was very popular, and Scottie Pippen. But now I think from the old crew, except for Michael Jordan, of course, Shaq might be the most popular one.
Yeah, and he's a charismatic guy. He does some commercials that are funny, and I think more people are kind of, finding out about him. That again, maybe younger people are kind of finding out about him and going back and finding more out about him, researching, watching some highlights, and that sort of thing. The fact that he's staying in the forefront, not just sort of, on a beat somewhere, not being seen or heard from, again, I think helps, and that sort of thing. I know you're big into the 90s inserts, collecting those. We've seen those, I guess, unfortunately, for those who tried to purchase them, we've seen them sort of catch fire and kind of go up in price. Have you noticed that? Has it become maybe a little more difficult to obtain some of those 90 inserts that you don't have?
Yeah, I think the problem is not even the difficulty to get them, but the price, as you mentioned, right? The prices have gone up. They are a little bit down right now, but not as low as I wish they were. Yeah. So I remember when I bought his cool insert cards 5, 6, 7, 8 years ago, they were insanely cheap. So it was for $50 you would get like some of the bigger cards. Right now you would pay like, I guess, $200, $300 for them. So yeah, it's a bit tough to get his big cards now. Or I'm not into the really big ones. So I'm not a guy who spends like hundreds and thousands of dollars for the PMGs and the credential cards. But I like all those inserts, those that were like box hits or even case hits. Those are the kind of inserts I really like. Yeah.
Yeah, and again, I've heard you speak to kind of your approach. You're not necessarily trying to get everyone ever made. You're just trying to get the ones that are in your budget that you like. Is there have you ever? I know you track it. I know you have a spreadsheet. Do you have an idea of like what percentage of Shaq cards made that you actually own? Is it like 40, 50? Do you know like what percentage you might actually have?
It's tough. I have around 1,100 or 1,200, and the Baggett database says something like 11,000, I think. But those include all those hundreds of Panini parallels and game jersey parallels. Those cards, I'm not really into it. But I think for those cards I'm chasing might be around, I don't know, 50, 60, 70%, something like this. Yeah.
Yeah. Do you have, obviously you have more than one card you want to get still, but is there one at the moment, like, people use the term grail card. Is there one that you would really, it's got the top of your list or not necessarily?
I mean, a grail card for me would still be the Jambalayas, the first two. Yeah. But they are obviously out of my price range. There's still some other very cool cards which I'm trying to get, like those from 97, 98 Ultra, the Star Power Supreme, for example. Yeah, I almost got one a couple of weeks ago, but it was for 300, and it was just too much for me. So I was trying to negotiate, but some other guy just bought it. Yeah, so it was gone. But there
I
is
think.
a couple of those.
Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead.
No, I just say there are a couple of cool cards that I'm still chasing. Yeah, and the Jambalaya, those would be my gray cards. Yeah.
Well, I think you got a smart sense about you, Torsten, in the fact that you have a budget, right? You're not going to overpay. You'll try again. There's more, unless it's a 1-on-1. Obviously, there's going to be additional shots to get that card at another time. And I think sometimes as collectors, myself included, we sort of get enamored to the point we maybe pay too much, or I don't want to say buyer's remorse, but afterwards we're like, man, I spent a lot of money for that. I think you're smart in the fact that you're like, hey, this is kind of what I'm willing to do, and if it happens, awesome, and if it doesn't, I'll try again at a future date, and that takes willpower. So kudos to you for having it, where some other collectors might not. Is it more difficult for you being in Germany to acquire just cards in general? In other words, obviously here in the States, we have LCSs, card stores. We have a ton of shows right now. Shows are really on the uptick. For those who've never been to Germany or not familiar, what's the landscape there as far as, are there card stores? Are there card shows that you can go to? Probably less than we have, but for those that don't know, kind of explain, what you have available at your disposal there.
We have maybe a handful of real card stores in Germany, not more than a handful. We have one really big one that has opened 2 years ago. That is an amazing store. I've been there last year, and it's not just basketball; it's everything. So they have all kind of cards, and it's really a hobby experience to go there. Some really cool things. But actually, we have a couple of shows in the past 2, 3, 4 years. They have come along, and there's actually one in Frankfurt. I live in Frankfurt, Germany, and there's one this weekend. So I will attend this. This will be my first show since I think before the COVID thing. I think 2019 was my last show, but they are nothing compared to the shows that you have. We're talking about 200 tables. That's a large, gigantic show in Germany. And for you, like I've seen reports of the National this year. This is crazy. So I mean, Adam said he didn't remember where the entrances and stuff like that was. I mean, that's beyond imagination for us in Germany. So usually we buy our cards via eBay, but we use is Ship My Cards usually. Yeah, that's a mailbox. But even that has become very expensive when you're not going for the big cards, because you have to ship it there. So you pay like a shipping fee, then you have a storage fee there, and then you ship it to Germany, which is another fee, and then you have to pay customs and some tax on this. So what I really love is ComC. ComC is my go-to platform to buy, because I can just collect the cards, and it's stupidly cheap to ship them. It's only $5, ship them to Germany, and then of course I have to pay the tax, but that's okay, yeah. And it takes a little bit longer if you choose like the cheapest version of shipping, which I usually have any problems with that. So that's. But yes, it's way harder, of course, to do it here overseas than to buy cards in the US. Yeah.
Yep. You've mentioned before that soccer is the number one sport in Germany, with basketball coming in second. You mentioned some card stores, that you do have card stores in Germany. How would you describe? Do they carry a little, everything, or are they kind of specialized soccer, maybe some basketball, or do they try to carry everything so they can appeal to more collectors?
Those few card stores we have, they they're kind of broad. They have soccer, they have basketball, they have NFL, which is an upcoming sport in Germany. So and also other stuff like not so much baseball, just a little bit baseball because baseball is not very popular in Germany, but also like those Yu-Gi-Oh cards and those Pikachu stuff, all those kinds of cards, yeah. But mainly, I guess it's soccer and basketball. Those are the two major sports according to cards. Card collection in Germany.
Is hockey rated above baseball? In other words, are there more hockey fans in Germany than even baseball fans?
Yeah, I would say so because we also have a national hockey league, so a German hockey league. So it's a little bit more popular. Actually, we have a second sport which is called hockey, which is played on the field, the Olympic hockey. We call it ice hockey in Germany. What you call hockey? Yeah,
yeah,
because it's played on the ice. Yeah.
Yeah,
and also
no doubt.
Germany has become quite good at hockey recently. So this is also then gives a popularity boost.
Yeah, that's actually one of the reasons I asked, Torsten. I know that Germany has fared a lot better recently in ice hockey. So I figured baseball would probably rank near the bottom, and that ice hockey would be ahead of it for many reasons, including recent successes.
Time for a quick break, but we'll be right back. For more than 30 years, Robert Edward Auctions has been the nation's premier auction house, specializing in sports memorabilia and trading cards. With significant experience and expertise in all major sport, non-sport, and Americana collectibles, REA has helped clients achieve record-breaking prices for their items and has done so with a reputation for integrity and transparency. By actively partnering with collectors and enthusiasts throughout the entire process, REA has created the hobby's most trusted forum for selling high-quality collectibles. Go to robertedwardauctions.com for more information on how to buy or sell in their next auction. For nearly 50 years, Sports Collectors Digest has been the voice of the hobby, bringing you comprehensive coverage of the sports collectible industry. From industry news, auction results, market analysis, and in-depth stories about collectors and their collections, Sports Collectors Digest has everything you need to know about the hobby. SCD is also your leading source for listings of sports collectible dealers, card shops, card shows, and the latest from the industry's top companies. To check out all the latest news or to subscribe to the hobby's oldest magazine, visit sportscollectorsdigest.com or call 1-800-829-5561. Sports Card Nation has returned.
You mentioned the shows. How often? I know you said you're going to your first show since the pandemic. I imagine you're probably pretty pumped and excited for that. How many shows? Assuming that there's not a pandemic and that sort of thing, and you could get to everyone that's in a good distance from you, where you don't have to travel too much. How many shows are available to you maybe in a year, potentially?
I would guess like 4 or 5. Yeah, something like this. Yeah.
Okay. Here in the States, our shows sometimes have autograph guests, sports personalities signing. Is that something? Do the shows in Germany do that even with maybe, German athletes or celebrities? Do they try to replicate that like that there?
Yeah. Actually, the show I'm going to go this weekend, there will be Lothar Matthäus. I don't know if you know him. He was one of the most popular soccer players in Germany in the 90s. Yeah,
I remember the name. I'm not a soccer expert, but the name does seem to ring a bell. And I'm glad to hear that. People love the opportunity, obviously, to meet someone they admire, get an autograph, that sort of thing. I wasn't sure if they do that. The show you're going to, how many tables? If you mentioned it, I missed it. But how many tables will be there?
I don't really know, but it's the arena where our local basketball team of Frankfurt plays. It has about 5,000 seats, so it's not a very huge arena according to like NBA arenas, of course. But I guess it must be maybe 100, 200. I don't know really. But it's a 2-day show. It's Saturday and Sunday. Yeah. I don't know. But for our relation, it's going to be a big show. Yeah. And for you, I guess it would be a rather small show.
Yeah, we have, our shows can range, Torsten. We can obviously mention the National. That's the granddaddy of them all. I call it the Super Bowl of the hobby. But we have, we have local shows that are 40 tables. There's even one that just happened here recently. I didn't do it as a dealer, but only 20 to 25 tables. So they come in all shape, for here, they come in all shapes and sizes. I know you've been to the States. Have you gotten to a show in the States?
No. I've gotten to flea markets, which was a big thing compared to what we have in Germany. When I was last time to a flea market, it was in 1997. And there were a lot of basketball cards there, at least like 20 to 50 tables that had, or trading cards in general. And this was like paradise for me back then. I remember that as a kid.
Yeah, we still have those. I actually, one of my first forays into even like setting up was actually at a flea market. So it's a good opportunity to get cards, even at a non-card show sort of setting. And that sort. What's the market like in Germany for card collecting? Are there clubs, or do you have friends that collect? Is there obviously the card community, Torsten, is worldwide, as we know. The internet and social media make the world and the card community a tighter and smaller place. But even locally in Germany, is there a lot of collectors? Do you know other collectors? Do you have opportunity to either buy, sell, or trade amongst yourselves?
I mean, for about 20 years, there was nobody I even knew. So at the end of the 90s, trading cards completely disappeared from German shops. The shelves were completely trading cardless. And it wasn't until 2016 I joined Facebook, because I was joining just a training group, and then I realized there were also some trading card groups there, and there I figured that there was a small community, and it was growing the past couple of years. And now, even though I haven't met anyone in person, but we chat via Instagram, and I know that they are meeting at some places that they are like hotspots in Germany, like in the Cologne area or in the Berlin area. So. And they meet, and they also have trade nights. I haven't participated in one, but I think this weekend I will meet some of the people I have been chatting with. But actually, even on Instagram, mostly I'm chatting with people from the US. Yeah. But we have a community, and it's growing. I see it especially this one store, the Beat Brothers store I was mentioning before. I follow their Instagram, and I see their stories, and they have a lot of customers and a lot of people that also have then Instagram accounts. And so the community is coming along. Yeah. And it's also diverse. They are not just collecting basketball, they're collecting all sports and all this other stuff that you can collect, like Nintendo cards or whatever. Yeah.
Well, it's. I will say this: it's good to hear that the German collecting community seems to be growing, as you said. In terms of distance, what is the nearest store? Like, what's the shortest drive you have to make to get to the closest store for you?
Oh, from Frankfurt, the closest store would be Cologne, yeah, or Langenfeld. Langenfeld is this smaller city near Cologne. It's like a 2-hour ride. Yeah. So it's
so still a little trip to get to the store. The card show you're going to, how far is that from?
That's actually in walking distance for me. So that's right around the corner.
Perfect.
Yeah.
That was set up nicely, and it's like you said, it's a great opportunity meet people that share the same, passion as you do. And you never know, right? When you meet someone, you say, "Hey, I collect Shaq cards," and "Hey, I got some," and there might be an opportunity to add to your Shaq collection. Do you have? I know you got you mentioned you have a lot over 1,000 Shaq cards. Is there one that comes to the forefront? Do you have a favorite one in your collection, or do you just have so many it's like hard to pick one?
I have a lot of them, but two I like in particular. Those are the first game jersey of Shaq, the 89, 99 game jersey, and the 99 2000 fresh ink autographed. Both cards I acquired via eBay back in the days, early 2000s, when you you sent an envelope with money to the US, and then you waited for like 6-8 weeks. You had no idea what happened, and then luckily one day the card was in the mail. Yeah. So that was big adventure back then for both cards. It was $100. Both cards cost $100 back then. I remember this. Yeah.
Yeah, it's funny you mentioned that the early days of eBay, which I remember fondly as well. And like you said, there was no PayPal or Venmo or Zelle or Cash App, right? It was all, you made a sale, you had to wait till the buyer sent you a check or money order, and if they sent you a check, you'd have to wait till that clears, unless you took a chance and said, "Well, I'm pretty sure it's good," and then sent the cards. And so it was a different, the younger folks have no idea about that, because we're spoiled now, because everything's instant, right? The funds go in the account, and then we're allowed to mail it right out. And back then, like you said, I smiled when you said that, because it brings back memories of those early days of eBay's, where one transaction, like you said, could, especially if it was being shipped far away or overseas, that transaction could extend, like you said, 6 to 8 weeks potentially, or quite a, where now it's less, and thankfully, but if you're old enough to remember that, like we are, you remember that. I used to write my stuff down. That way I knew I didn't miss anything, and I know when I shipped it. I tracked all that stuff just literally by hand.
Yeah, and it was quite an experience, because first you have to research a card you like, then you have to research a seller that even ships to Germany. Then I went to a bank with some euros in my hand, and they have to exchange that for dollars, and then I put it in the envelope, and it was really, really an experience back then.
Yeah, you're exactly right, and like you said, even with converting and sometimes even figuring out how much is this really going to cost me, you know what I mean? It can be tricky too. Well, I appreciate you coming on and making some time and sharing. I think sometimes we're spoiled here in the States, Torsten, and don't realize how fortunate we have. And we've got card stores, locally, where 30 minutes, 20 minutes. I have one that's 3 miles from my house, and I always find it interesting what it's like in other countries, and sometimes we kind of take it for granted how fortunate or how close things are for us, or how many shows we have, and that sort of thing. So I appreciate you kind of sharing some of the German landscape what entails to the hobby, so people can appreciate maybe how fortunate they are. Maybe they're closer or have more shows. But it sounds like maybe in Germany, you're going to have more shows, more card shops popping up as the hobby gains popularity. You think you'll see that?
Yeah. Hopefully, I hope that it doesn't go away like it went away in the 90s. I mean, in the middle of the 90s, there was a market for basketball cards in Germany. They even printed like German bilingual cards from Upper Deck back then. But then it completely disappeared for whatever reason. I don't even know why. Maybe because it was solely a kid's hobby back then in Germany, and the kids grew up and they lost interest, like it's usual for kids. And right now, I think it's more of an adult thing in Germany. Like people my age are the majority. I don't know what if there are enough kids in Germany involved in the hobby so that it will go on. I'm not sure about that. Maybe even more with the soccer cards, because soccer has always been the number one sport in Europe and in Germany. And they print some cooler cards. I don't collect soccer cards, but I've seen a lot of them. They are much cooler. But the problem is also if when they become too expensive. I don't know if that works. Like the Panini Flawless, I've seen they printed some soccer a couple of years ago, but I don't know if that will work in Germany when Fanatics takes also over, and they have to keep it a little less expensive, because in Germany, especially for kids, we don't have this investment in asset background with trading cards. It's more like the sticker collecting background with Panini, and so having card packs that cost more than 10 euros, that's going to be a challenge if you don't have like the retail stuff for just a couple of bucks.
No, it's a great point. I hope Fanatics and other card companies are listening and realize that every country's different, right? You got different demographics, different financials, different people who collect, and that sort of thing. So hopefully, the powers that be kind of take notice of that and try to, encompass everybody, keep everybody in the hobby. I think they want to. It's just, wanting and doing things to get that done are two different things. So hopefully, they realize that and do the right thing. I got to ask you, the national. You mentioned the national. It's our biggest show, obviously. Any future plans maybe to get to the States and attend the national potentially?
Oh, that would be a stretch. I mean, that would have to be combined with a family vacation, maybe with my kids and my wife. I never say never. Dr. Jim asked me this as well. I don't know. I don't know. Maybe. I mean, I haven't been to Chicago yet, so maybe this. Maybe I like Washington D.C. I've been there a couple of times. Maybe someday the Nationals are in Washington. I like the city very much, so that would be chance for me to return there. I don't know. Yeah.
Well, I like what you said, right? Never say never. You don't rule it out, and you keep your options open. Like you said, you could potentially, if the demographics work out, you can even make like kind of a family trip to the States at the same time, and hopefully that happens for you. I think you'll love it, and to see that many tables and that many people, and have you there would be awesome. So hopefully in the future that occurs, and if it does, I'll get to meet you obviously in person, and that will be fun as well. And so hopefully it happens. But Torsten, I want to thank you for making some time, kind of coordinating our schedules where it works for both of us. If you want to share, whether it be an email, I don't know if you have a website or any social media, handles, social media handles. That way, maybe if someone has some Shaqs and they think you might be interested in, they can kind of get a hold of you, that sort of thing. Whatever you want to share, feel free.
I mean, I have a little Instagram account, which is Shaq Card Collector _DE for Deutschland, so to speak. Yeah, you can contact me there or just look at my collection. I put some posts there a couple of times a week explaining something about my Shaq cards or talking a little bit about the odds and statistics a little bit, stuff like that. Just non-professionally, just for fun.
Yep, and that's what it's about. It's a good note to kind of close on, right? The hobby is fun, and if you're not having fun, what are we doing, right? Why are we doing it?
Correct.
It doesn't make a lot of sense. So, Torsten, again, I thank you. I'll have to have you back on, or maybe sometime in the near future, and kind of get an update on not only your Shaq collection, but the hobby and how it's faring in Germany as well. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for having me. It was a great pleasure. Thank you.
Awesome having Torsten on all the way from Frankfurt, Germany. Had to just coordinate sort of where the times made sense for both of us. Wasn't too difficult. Made it happen. And he's been on Dr. James Beckett's Sports Card Insights multiple times. So check it out. Check those episodes out as well. And I always, as sort of a student of the hobby, someone who's been in the hobby a long time, I always wonder, like, what's it like in that country hobby-wise? Or does that country even have access to cards or shows or stores and that sort of thing? So kind of getting that sort of perspective from the Germany, always interesting in any country, but in this case, Germany, and the big card show he just attended. I am doing a SCD article about this interview, Sports Collectors Digest, about the hobby worldwide and specific, with a little more focus on Germany, but just worldwide. So again, thanks to Torsten for coming on and sharing what's going on in Germany. Just one final comment, if I may, from me before the outros here, everybody, is, be a good steward. I believe in that. I think that stuff is contagious. I think it rubs off on people when someone sees someone do something good for the hobby or for someone else in the hobby, but not even just in the hobby, folks, even in life, right? Helping someone else out, helping your fellow man or woman, maybe when chips are down or they need our help. That stuff goes a long way. Sets a good example, stewardship, and being a good human. So, I try to do it. Some days I'm probably better at it than others, but at least I start each day with that goal being one of the ones at the forefront of my mind.
Hobby News Daily is your homepage of the hobby, providing original writing, exclusive gem rate data, a daily morning minute podcast, and some of the best content creators in the hobby. Remember, hobbynewsdaily.com and at Hobby News Daily on social. Happy collecting!
Hi, this is Pat Hughes, Cubs announcer, coming to you from the Sports Card Shop in beautiful New Buffalo, Michigan. The Gocher family has built an incredible place here for collectors to buy, sell, and trade cards and memorabilia. Be sure to stop by and let them show you around. TheSportsCardShop.com, connecting sports, athletes, the hobby, and collectors around the world.
Hi. This is Alan Pinkett, and I'm here to tell you the Gocher family has done it again. They've just opened up the Sport Card Shop in downtown Valparaiso, Indiana, and it is awesome. If you're a collector, you need to check this place out. Tell them Alan sent you and get a free gift on your first visit.
That's a wrap for this week. Huge thanks to you, the listeners out there, because without you, there is no us. If you like the show, we truly appreciate positive reviews. Big ups to our great guests who drive the show and our awesome sponsors who make it all possible. Sports Card Nation will be back next week, but don't forget to catch either Hobby Quick Hits or Card Mentions coming up on Monday. I'll leave you with this. How do we change the world? One random act of kindness at a time. Remember, the hobby is the people.